conversation every Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific for Inner Voice, Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan. Dr. Foojan has a direct approach to getting you to free your mind. Inner Voice is a live call-in show where you can chat about your life and all that matters to you in your relationships. Inner Voice, Heartfelt Chat with Dr. Foojan, Monday afternoons at 3 p.m. Pacific on Smart Talk, KMET 1490 AM, and on the Internet stream.
The Inner Voice Show is a dialogue between the host and the listeners about their relationships. This show is not an attempt to assess, diagnose, or treat any mental health or illness condition. Please consult your physician, psychiatrist, or psychotherapist for personal matters.
Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine and have Sean in studio. This is an opportunity for us to chat today about you, your life, your relationships, and what matters most to you. My intention is to create a space of clarity so you can become aware and gain skills in healthy thinking, feeling, behaving, and co-creating this beautiful life. And happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers, grandmothers, who are stepmothers, who are in blended family mothers, who are adopted mothers, or who are all in caring businesses that you kind of mother the world. So thank all of you for your generosity, for your heart, for your caring, for everything in the cell of your body that you give to everyone around you, and you create this beautiful life with human beings that are kind of bathed in your love and generosity. So thank you. I hope and I wish that you had an amazing day yesterday, filled with gratitude from everyone who received your love and wanted to give it back to you. I hope you took care of yourself and pampered yourself. And guess what? If you didn't, that's okay. Today is another day. Just go ahead and do it right now. Okay? So call me at this show. We want to talk to you. We want to chat with you about your life. Call me at 951-922-3532. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with Anita and Brody Boyd.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Dr. Foojan Zeine is a psychotherapist, a marriage and family therapist, and a life coach with more than 27 years of experience. She is the author of the Awareness Integration Model, which has been researched and published in numerous international journals. Dr. Foojan has offices in Beverly Hills, Irvine, and Woodland Hills, California, and also consults online and by telephone. Make an appointment with her today by calling 818-648-2140 or go online to www.foojan.com. That's www.foojan.com.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Don't miss out on the free KMET smartphone apps. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Don't be late for the 100th Annual Cherry Festival, starting the weekend of May 31st through June 3rd at Stewart Park. Gates open at 5 p.m. Thursday and Friday, and at noon Saturday and Sunday. There's some great entertainment, just to name a few: Eddie Money, Bretton Wood, Jefferson Starship, Mini Kiss, and Restless Hearts. Carnival rides for the kids, vendors that all will enjoy, and a beer garden for the adults. Use the free shuttle from the Beaumont Walmart or the Beaumont Sports Park and get $1 off admission. See you there.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Inner Voice Show. So remember, call me at 951-922-3532. But before I speak with you, I want to talk to Antia and Brody Boyd. The couple are together with us. I'm so excited to be able to learn from them and have them talk to all of us about relationships. So let me tell you a little bit about them first. Antia and Brody Boyd have been helping thousands of elite single women and men all over the world to start attracting the right partner for them to share their life and have a loving relationship quickly. That's for sure important, quickly. Antia studied personality psychology at UC Berkeley, and Brody has a degree in communications and interpersonal relationships. And they have been international keynote speakers on romantic relationships at such places as Google, Harvard University, and on hundreds of stages, TV and radio shows all over the world. They were featured on America Trends TV and Del Mar Lifestyle magazine. They are NLP certified and for over a decade studied everything that they could get their hands on in the areas of dating and attracting a happy and a long-term relationship with the right partner, and quickly without fear, anxiety, or staying alone. You can find them at www.findtheoneelite.com. Findtheoneelite.com. Well, welcome, Auntie and Brody, to my show.
Hi, so glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, are you guys a couple?
Yes, we are.
We get this asked all the time.
Yeah, we are husband and wife.
So you get to practice all this good stuff and then bring it to all of us, right?
Oh, yes, in the love laboratories.
That is wonderful, the love laboratory. I love that concept, love laboratory. So, Antia and Brody, tell me about the concept of what you know as love.
The concept of love?
Yes, love.
Well, love to me is really being available to all of your emotions. So oftentimes we're available to the emotions of happiness and joy and all those emotions, but we're not available to the emotions of our own anger or our own grief. And to me, that is like really the accumulation of all those emotions. It's kind of like a rainbow, right? You know, it's like the rainbow has all colors. And so that's what I always say is, why would you settle for one color if you can have the whole rainbow, which for me, that's what love is.
That is beautiful, what you're saying to me. What you're saying is that when we are aware and feel fully the range of our emotions, all of it, whether it's anger, sadness, shame, guilt and disgust and joy and happiness and relaxation and all of it, when we allow ourselves to feel in our body the range of emotions, then we are also open to feeling the extent of love in the deepest form. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, totally. When we got married, we actually, before we got married, we did what's called a shadow ceremony as well, where we really shared with each other our deepest fears and anxieties going into the marriage. So we really were entering it with that authenticity and the level. And then and transparency. We did that the night before our wedding, and we also did it on our wedding day, and then shared the good things after that. So we really believe in, sharing all of those emotions with each other and being willing to feel all the emotions as well, rather than resisting them and putting it under the rug.
So the transparency that you're talking about is not only being transparent with your emotions, but you're also talking about your thinking, being transparent with your thoughts, because most of the time when couples come together, we grow. If we're together for a long time, obviously each one of us grows. Not only the relationship grows, but each one of us grows in a different way. We kind of not always grow at the same time, with the same pace, in the same format, or in the same path. So this concept of transparency that you're talking about, when we share with each other where we are and who we are and how we're growing, it seems like that would also bring us closer into an intimate place. Say more about that.
Yes, so I think it's really important to always stay on the edge and lean into, the thoughts that you are uncomfortable with, or, like anything that you are afraid of doing, or any way of being. So I think it's really always kind of finding, what am I uncomfortable with? What am I uncomfortable with? Because in a relationship, it's so easy to quickly become very comfortable with each other. You have this kind of settled in dynamic. And that's why we really teach our 6 archetypes, to make sure that you're always constantly in growth mode and in integrating all of that into your relationship.
Yeah, because if you're not growing,
go
you're
ahead,
dying.
Brody.
Oh, I was just saying, because if you're not growing, you're dying. If a relationship isn't growing, it's dying as well. So it's so important to learn all the different aspects of each other, so that you can really check in and see that each aspect that you have is growing and improving. So your relationship itself is going to be growing to the best level possible.
When you're talking about growth, it's interesting that we also need to be interested to see each other's growth. Sometimes we hold each other as if the other person is an object, which is a fixated object, and they're just there. And so I'm like, oh, I know what he's going to say. Oh, I know what she's going to say. Don't worry about it. I know I'm going to walk in, and this is what the reaction is going to be. But this concept of being interested in each other's growth, not only to mine, but to also look for the other person's growth, is also something that can create a lot of excitement between couples in their growth.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one thing I like to do occasionally is really releasing my attachment to who I think Brody is, right? Because otherwise, if Brody tries to be something new and he's kind of exploring, I'll be like, well, wait a minute, you've never been like that. And then, of course, that feels too uncomfortable for him, and he's going to go right back in his comfort zone, right? But if we really live this life of exploration, and what else do you want? Who else do you want to be? And how can I support you in that? I found it's really important to occasionally release that attachment of that we have who our partner is or who our partner is not.
Yes. I'm also wondering, because you guys are talking about finding a partner. Easy, without the anxieties, without the fears. And I know that, when you're 20, it's different in who you are and what you want from your partner. When you're 30, it's different, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It's just, we want different things. And also, I think that it's different when we've never been married and we have all of this kind of fantasies about the marriage and all that it's going to be and happily ever after, than when we've been divorced and now are looking for another relationship. So can you talk a little bit about how do you talk to people? What do you teach them in the way that they could take care of themselves and who they can be while they go and on dates and trying to find their right partner? And what are some of the skills that they need to look for, or the types and characters that they need to look for when they go out to pick and choose?
I'm so glad that you asked that question, because we get this question quite a bit, and we've been working with women who are never dated anyone, divorced twice, widowed. And, what we really found over the years is that it's not about the age, but it's really about the stage. I mean, we have like women in mid-50s, mid-60s, and who are like at the same stage where some clients in the 30s are. And it's really quite phenomenal to really remove that age. And as a matter of fact, some of my clients would tell you, the ones who found their partner, that was really a sentence that stuck with them because they got so identified with their age group, but they weren't acting like it, right? But they were lost. So that's definitely one, letting go of that age conversation, right? That's really, really what we find. And that's really, of course, going to help them in their dating process. And one thing Brody and I always talk about is when you look at your dating process, not focus on the features of your list, because we all have the list, right? The features being like, oh, he must be 6 foot tall, or he must have a kid, or whatever it is, but to focus on the benefits. So why do you want that, right? So especially when the older women want like a man who's like younger, and I said, well, what if he's like you, where he's like in his 50s or 60s, but he's like so in shape and he has so much life, right? And you're like, oh, I've never met that before, but yeah, if that's possible, I would be totally interested in that.
Mm-hmm. There's also anything you want to add to that, Brody, for men?
Yeah. Yeah, I think men is the same way. One thing I always say is, like, how do you want to feel, too, when you're with your ideal partner? That's a great way to start the process, because the whole process of attracting your ideal partner, we found it starts with getting that clarity on what you want. And yes, like Ante said, it's important to have the list of what you want, but then also to get clear on the emotional parts of it for you. How do you really want to feel being with that partner in that relationship? You want to feel secure, safe, confident, happy, purposeful, like your life has meaning again. Whatever that is, that feeling is going to be a great guidance, because that's going to help you when you meet a person that could be that match. You're going to get that feeling inside, and that feeling is going to be a better guidance than any of those other things. And I've had a client in San Francisco, it's the same thing. He said, I met a woman, but she's a vegetarian and she doesn't drink. And he liked to eat meat, and he drank occasionally. So he thought that was a red flag. I'm like, okay, well, how do you feel when you're with her? When I'm with her, I feel amazing. It feels great. I'm growing. I said, okay, well, just keep seeing her and let's see how things pan out. And it's sure enough, they ended up moving in together shortly after that and going on a trip to China. And then they got married and had a baby. So really the feeling is going to be a great guidance for that than anything else.
So the conversation of the list that they need to create, you're saying that you don't need to consistently put a list up, but to also look at the qualities of the relationship and not just they have to match a particular concept. I've noticed sometimes, as you know, I've been a couples therapist for many, many years, 27 years almost. And I've noticed that people usually have a high level of list as if they like a resume portfolio concept. But when I usually ask, what do you want from a person or a mate, they're like, not much. I just want him to love me. And there's like maybe a couple of 3 or 4 words that they use. And I've noticed that when, like you said, if they really look at what they want and what they can also create in a relationship. So what they want is something exactly that they're willing to create themselves, and look at their own body, look at their system, and recreate that consistently in the relationship. Then they can also be responsible for the relationship, because there's 2 parts. One is catching your great mate. Another one would be kind of keeping the relationship and moving along. So talk a little bit about what you teach your students and people who come in to see you, and for you to coach them in what traits do they need to look at when they are going on dates and they're representing themselves, and versus the skills that they need afterward, and they need to be keeping the relationship and maintaining it.
Yeah, so our Magnetize the Man method consists of 3 components. So the first piece is mapping, the second is magnifying, and the third one is manifesting. And the mapping, of course, focuses on like attracting the man, but also understanding what attachment style am I? You know, what are my values? What are my blind spots? So really being aware of what are my triggers. So you basically have like your own, I call it your own manual to yourself, right? And then the second step, magnifying, that's then where we look at where are you not the whole rainbow, right? Which emotions are you not available to, and which emotions are not magnified, right? They're actually quite dimmed down, and as a consequence, you either attract men into your life, but they're emotionally unavailable because they also have their own stories about their emotions. Or number two is you don't even attract because you're sending so many mixed messages, you're not even bringing in anyone. And then in stage 3, that's then the manifestation stage. That's where we really go into what are the self-sabotaging patterns when the man is coming in. Specifically, the first 2 months we find is really, really sensitive. Old patterns are coming up, old stories of not good enoughness, or simply the inability to receive that much attention, right? Because that system never experienced it in her whole life.
Mm-hmm. So mapping, magnifying, and manifesting, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Say a little bit more about the stage of mapping. What do you mean when you're trying to map? Is it the qualifications? Is it the criteria? Is it getting to know yourself also and to know what you're bringing into the relationship?
Yeah, totally. So mapping really starts off with, like I was saying before, the first step is really getting clear on what you want, and then to go deeper into it. What do you want, and then why do you want those things? Why, the Greek method, the 5 whys. Keep asking why until you get to the root of like really how you want to feel or what you want the quality of that relationship to be like you were saying. And so really getting clear on what you want. And then the next step is getting clear on what's getting in the way. What are the blocks? What are the old childhood patterns? What are the relationship patterns? You know, you keep attracting the same kind of partner, or you keep having the same type of relationship and it doesn't last, or whatever is happening. Keep attracting emotionally unavailable partners or maybe trust issues. So getting clear on what's getting in the way, and then from there we can start to get also clear on, like what Antje was talking about, your attachment style, your personality styles, and the deeper patterns within you that are going to be, that may need some adjustments, so we can really map out what is the path forward, what are the steps we're going to need to do to get you on the right track, so that we can clear out those old blocks and you can have a clear path to love. It's like the yellow brick road to the man in the green castle.
We're talking to Antia and Brody Boyd, an Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm going to ask Antia and Brody to keep being with us. We're going to go back to hear a little bit of the messages, and don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and talk about love and creation of love in the relationship and how to maintain a beautiful relationship. Be right back.
Dr. Foojan Zeine is a psychotherapist, a marriage and family therapist, and a life coach with more than 27 years of experience. She is the author of the Awareness Integration Model, which has been researched and published in numerous international journals. Dr. Foojan has offices in Beverly Hills, Irvine, and Woodland Hills, California, and also consults online and by telephone. Make an appointment with her today by calling 818-648-2140 or go online to www.foojan.com. That's www.foojan.com.
Hello, listeners. This is Christopher from The Christopher Show. Hey, if you missed one of our shows here at KMET, don't worry about it. You can go to our webpage, and that's KMET1490am.com. Go to the homepage, click on the SoundCloud tab, and hear any show anytime you want.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Don't miss out on the free KMET smartphone apps. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Welcome back to the Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and we are here together with Antia and Brody Boyd. If you want to find them, go to findtheoneelite.com. Findtheoneelite.com. So, Antia and Brody, tell our audience about the maintenance part, and then let them know how what you have as far as your workshops, or how they can find you, and what they're going to gain when they find you.
Yeah, so really, as far as maintenance, so yeah, definitely we find a lot of the work is going to be around attracting the partner, because a lot of old patterns are getting in the way from childhood, or trust issues like we talked about, or attracting the wrong type of people. So those patterns and those blocks are low confidence. Once those are cleared out, a lot of the work's already done. So attracting the partner becomes easier in our magnify step we talked about, and then in manifesting, when you attracting the partner and they're in your life, then it's about keeping the relationship, and it's going to be easier once a lot of those old patterns have been cleared out. And a lot of it then goes to improving communication skills, improving your ability to receive and to hold love, and to hold a secure attachment style. And once you understand the attachment styles, someone who's not going to push you away when you try to get too close, or who's also not going to be too needy or anxious when you're not giving them enough. You have a secure relationship where you can stand next to each other. We call it being the king and the queen, having a king and queen relationship, where if you're a woman attracting your king and a man attracting his queen. So that's going to help a lot. So yeah, so that's really what we help out with. And then as far as getting in touch with us, like you mentioned, yeah, definitely if you're a woman or a man who's struggling with these issues we talked about, of attracting the wrong partners, feeling like you're wasting time, or struggling with frustration or loneliness in your romantic life, and wanting to have that secure, safe, lasting love, the confidence, the happiness, the fulfillment, definitely we have some special gifts to help you out. We have some trainings and some coaching that we do, some free gifts. You can go to our website, findtheoneelite.com, like you mentioned, findtheoneelite.com, and we'd love to help you out. And it's ELITE at the end. Yeah, that's really our passion, helping create more love in the world.
It's been a joy to have both Antia and Brody Boyd with us at our show. And hopefully, as you go along, you call us back and let us know about more of your training and offerings that you would like to give our listeners. Any last words from you, Antia?
I would say we shoot for the stars and keep your standards high.
Wonderful. Shoot for the stars and keep your standards high, and create an amazing relationship for yourself, and find each other, the ones that are meant to be with for each other, and find the skills. You can go to findtheoneelite.com and talk to Antia and Brody Boyd. Thank you so much for being with us. Take good care of yourself.
Thanks, Dr. Foojan. Yes, we love being on here. It's fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Have a good day.
Well, everyone, we're going to actually listen to this beautiful song from, let me tell you, I Choose Love from Sean Galloway. I Choose Love from Sean Galloway. Now, call me, 951-922-3532. And right after this, we're going to come back and talk to Clyde.
can see tears. I see a choice, love or fear. What do you choose? I can see peace, or I can see war. I can see sunshine, or I can see a storm. What do you choose? Now I choose to love where freedom flies from my heart, where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love. I choose love. I can see sharing, or I can see greed. I can see caring, or poverty. So what do you choose? I can see gardens, or I can see bombs. I can see life or death coming on strong. So what do you choose? Now I choose to love where freedom flies from my heart, where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love. I choose love.
Well, I choose Love by Sean Galloway. So, any of you that like that music, please go and get it from Sean Galloway. I saw him in one of the fundraisings, and I usually go to artists who I see in fundraising, and they had a message in their song and that I love and I want to share with you. So we have Clyde. You guys are back with us in Inner Voice Show at KMET 1490 AM, and we're here together with Clyde. Hello, Clyde. Thank you for calling.
My pleasure, Doc. How are you today?
Doing pretty well. Thank you. So, I guess we've been talking about relationships and finding a good relationship and being in a good relationship. And what are you calling on? Relationships?
Well, actually ties into, I guess, what your last guests were talking about in terms of finding the ideal mate. And
Yeah.
for me, I found through some other avenues of soul searching and looking at some of my choices in a mate, and that I'm choosing women that are similar to my mom.
Yes.
And what I'm noticing is that it's not just the good qualities, it's some of the things that have severed our relationship over the years. So that could be toxic. It can be, I guess, a setup for failure, if you will.
Yes, Clyde. They are. First of all, this is very much of a norm, just to let you know that you're not the only one. Not that makes it easier that you're not the only one, but at least you know that you're not the only one that goes through that pattern. We have had our first close relationship, intimate, loving relationship, obviously with our parents. So most of the time we co-create the same type of a relationship as a familiar type of a relationship as we go and get attracted to our mate. So we look at, there's a theory called imagotherapy, which is from Harville Hendricks and Helen Hunt, actually. The two of them created the theory of imagotherapy, which says that we get attracted really a lot to people who have the best qualities that we like from our parents, our mother or father, and kind of the worst qualities, and the ones that we totally fall in love with, head over heels, usually have their qualities, not only the positive, but a lot of the negative qualities that we didn't like, and we were powerless in our childhood to do something about. And our subconscious kind of goes and finds the same people. So hopefully, now that we are adult and apparently we feel more powerful, to go into the relationship to resolve where we couldn't resolve in childhood. So that's one theory. The other one would be, Clyde, and I'm saying this so you could look at yours and see where it fits, that sometimes, yes, we do have familiar characteristics that we go after, obviously, but there's also a way that we behave, that behavior came from kind of reacting to our mother or father. And just because we keep reacting to our mate in that way, we also insist for them to behave back toward us the way that our mother or father were behaving, right? So if somebody comes in and consistently I snap at them, there's usually a kind of a behavior that I would expect from them to come back and react to me. And we instigate, we call forward the same behavior that our parents did for us. And that's how we kind of live in a familiar ground. Although we might not like it, we still create the same kind of familiarity. So based on these two kind of theories, which one do you think you matched with?
I think it's a combination of both, simply because I haven't had very many serious relationships. So looking back, each one has had the good and the bad, and I've kind of looked at it from a child's standpoint of not having that power to change it. And then going into that relationship, not just to change them, but change the way I should have acted in the past, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It really kind of doesn't, but I'm now an adult trying to fix something that I couldn't fix when I was a child. So, and I think that's a pattern that's clearly on me that I'm bringing to the table in these relationships.
So if you tell me, what type of behaviors do you think you create in a relationship, which might not necessarily be healthy? And then what type of behaviors that are not healthy do you instigate back from your mate, which might be very similar to your mom?
Well, for myself, I'm more of a fixer. And if there's something I don't like, or if I'm struggling to understand it, I tend to push people away. I tend to want to kind of figure it out and don't bother me kind of mentality, which isn't always healthy because I'm not communicating fully what it is I want them to do or what it is I'm trying to do. It's just leave me alone for now. Can be vague and can seem hurtful. And on the other end, if the behavior is, let's say, being defensive or using profanity as a way to communicate a situation, an issue, or feeling, then that throws me back to childhood of being spoken down to or harshly to. And that's not a good place to be in because you feel powerless.
Right.
You feel like you're being shamed or battered or something like that.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you, Clyde, is that you, when something is negative or becomes overwhelming, what you do is you retreat within yourself And then the person who's with you has to get your attention. And somehow, the more they're trying to get your attention and come forward, you kind of more hide in your own space. So it takes them to come forward again, more and more. And it seems like because they're not being heard somehow, they get more and more angry, and their anger shows up in uh, profanity. So it's like they got to get your attention somehow, they have to tell you how they're feeling and how much they're frustrated. And it seems like their frustration gets over higher and higher and higher, and it shows in their profanity. But then when they get there, then you give yourself what we call fulfilling prophecy of see. It's not safe to be with them. So you actually go back more into the space of hiding within yourself. And then at that time, you not only break down, go into a broken place, but also say, see, it's always this way. So you kind of generalize it, and all of your childhood emotions of being broken down by some powerful person who was really angry at you and you couldn't do much shows up again. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think there's a common thread there, because for me, now that I have the power, I do have the ability to, I guess, articulate what I want to say. I can be just as angry, if you will, and not necessarily out-talk or over-talk someone, but stand up for myself, if you will. And I can be very demeaning with that as well, because now I'm not a child. So it's now I'm going to beat you, or I'm going to take advantage of the situation and turn it around, if that makes any sense.
Yes. So one of the parts that I'm hearing is that you somehow you allow the anger to be conversed with you in a way that it just doesn't sit well with you. And maybe the allowance is something that you've been used to since childhood. So your triggers don't show up as, oh, this is alarming, until it's already too high, too late. In the use of angry tone, the words they use, and even profanity. So maybe if you can look at it and be more cautious earlier in the conversation, where as you see anger showing up and building, to begin conversing in another way, begin conversing in a respectful way yourself, and set the tone in a space of respect, and letting them know that the only way that you would continue the conversation, although you respect their anger and you really want them to show and share their anger with you, but that you're not willing for them to dump their anger at you, that they could also share it in a polite way and in a way that it can be received by you without feeling threatened or humiliated or demeaned. But that also means that for you, you also need to communicate your anger in a more, let's say, civilized and a more humane and in a more practical way, where they could hear it. There's a way we could share our anger. That means we regulate ourselves. We take care of our own emotion. We're responsible for taking our emotion. We take care of ourselves. We bring down the intensity of the anger, and then we share the content, the concept, the whatever made us angry, and share it with the other person, versus just have raw emotion and kind of dump it on them. What do you think about that?
I think it's an accurate coping mechanism, or a way to facilitate, I guess, healthy conversation, and I'm actually working towards that, instead of coming from that place of anger and showing it. I kind of, like you said, paint the picture of, well, it was this or X situation that made me feel angry, and this is why I wanted to be alone or didn't want to talk. But now there's a very normal tone. It's respectful, and I want feedback. I want some inclusion that, okay, what are your thoughts on this? Or how do we deal with it? Kind of scenario.
Yes, and sometimes when we're angry, Clyde, even when you're angry, immediately, instead of running away and going to your hiding place, then obviously gets them angry, to say it, to share it. It just seems like I'm having some emotions and feelings, and some of them is frustration and anger or sadness. And I need to be by myself a little bit to figure it all out, to calm myself down and to see what it is that I'm upset about and what is it that I really want from myself and you, and promise to come back. Just let me a couple of hours, and I'll come back and share it with you in what I found. So the person knows you're not running away. The person knows that you are really looking at things and that there's a promise. And when you come back, the conversation will no longer be having that type of an intensity, will no longer have any type of blame in it, but it would be formulated in a way of, like you just said, I saw this, this is what it meant to me, it got me upset. I really thought about it. This is how I prefer it. This is what I would like to see as an outcome. Let's look at it. Then I want to hear your voice about this matter, what matters to you, so we could kind of negotiate. When the person in front of you gets that opportunity where you're clear and you come back with a clear communication and give them the allowance to also for them to say whatever they need to say, hopefully they will create the trust that they won't be getting more angry as you need to step away and come back. Also, you're role modeling that type of a communication. And then even if they're from their old patterns, they react a particular way through to the anger, and they're not necessarily taking in your role modeling yet. As they escalate, you can also stop and say, it just seems like you're getting escalated. I get it that you're angry and you want to share your anger with me in that way. But maybe if it's okay with you also, the same way I did, can you take the time with yourself to just, kind of calm down, take care of your intensity and emotion, even write it down and what it is that you want to share with me. And we'll take the time again and look at it together. But when you attack me, or when I feel attacked by the intensity and the wordings that you use, my ears close. I cannot be there for you. And I'm sure that you really want me to hear you. And if my ears are closed, this communication is to the waste. We can't do much with it. So why don't you take care of yourself, and we'll come back and talk tonight. Is that something that you might be able to do?
Actually, I've tried, or a situation came about where that kind of happened, and it didn't go as smoothly as you described it. And I think just because in the heat of the moment, when you say, hey, let's step back, or hey, take some time, that message can be heard as, I don't want to hear you right now, or this isn't important. So I know it's never going to be perfect, but finding what works for me in that situation when it does come about will be helpful. So I think choosing different words, or maybe it's the environment we're in when it happens, if we're somewhere outside, semi-private, might make a difference, because then it's okay, let's be aware of our surroundings, may also help.
That helps. I think also that there's a choice of words that are being used very purposefully, and the context of caring behind it usually sits well with people. So if the words are, you're angry and you're shouting at me, why don't you just go, take a couple minutes and then calm yourself down and come back, then the person thinks that they're being shunned out and go away, I don't want your anger. So if the words are chosen in a way that, I love to hear you, what you say to me is very important. So you set it up as that. What you say to me is very important. I really want to hear you. Maybe this is my deficiency, that when somebody yells or they have a tonality of anger, I feel threatened, and my shields come up and I can no longer be there present for you. I'm just asking, in order for me to be there and really hear you, why don't we take couple of minutes? Why don't we walk around and come back and talk about this? Why don't we take deep breaths or something? Maybe we could go into, different rooms and kind of calm down and come back. I really want to be there for you. So maybe in that way, when you say it, they get it. that you're just utilizing some skills in order to de-escalate the space and then come back. I think the other piece is that many times when we get into conflict, we insist to consistently tell the other person what we don't like, and we don't go into a space of exactly what it is we want. So if you can shorten the amount of time that we talk about things you don't like and come up with the solution, and the solution means that that's what I have on the table ready to be negotiated, versus, we may talk about an hour about things we don't like and only get the other person very defensive consistently. And then we fall into this defensive mode. Well, you don't like this about me. Well, you do it yourself, or you do that, and you do this. And then it becomes a tick-for-tack concept of what we don't like about each other, and kind of like a breakdown versus, yes, I don't like one thing, but I like so many other things. And let's look at how we can come back and, make a system better for each other. So maybe you could utilize that a little bit.
I mean, I definitely would give it a try.
Okay. And the conversation that you're having about, if you see this as a pattern, not only of people you find, but like you said, there's a hope to change that. Also look at the way that you instigate this type of a behavior from others. How do you also behave with women, with people you go out with, that you ultimately have them respond back to you the same way mom did? So I think that's important for you to begin becoming aware of your communication skills as a proactive concept as you start. Like, how you play tennis and then you serve. If every time you serve, you kind of send, the ball to the left, and everybody ultimately, in order to respond back to you, they have to go to the left to get the ball. And then you have it as, I don't know how come everybody's like my mother who runs to the left to send me back the ball. And maybe it's the way you also approach the communication. And I'm not saying that you are responsible for all sorts of the communication, even for them. I'm just saying, be aware of that also, because you said that the patterns of communication sometimes becomes similar from women to women to women, and somehow they become similar to your mom.
Well, true. And I just kind of, probably over the last 30, 45 days, that has come up, and I never really thought of it that way. So now it's in the forefront, and I'm starting to kind of look present to past and see what those patterns are with them and what I brought to the table in terms of those behaviors that I just kind of mirroring from my childhood that I never really expressed.
Yes. Thank you so much for calling, Clyde. I think that you opened up a lot. Thank you for your sharing and transparency. And thank you for bringing your conversation to us today. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you. For all of you who are out there, it was a joy to be with you one more week. Remember, call us at 951-922-3532 next Monday. Start calling at 3 o'clock. You can find the podcast at the KMET. You can find the show back, the other Monday shows that we had, the prior shows, again at KMET, and create an amazing, amazing life and relationship for yourself. And thank you, Sean, again for this week. Take good care of yourself. Until next week. Bye-bye.
The preceding was a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
KMET Banning. You're listening to 1490 AM KMET, Banning, Beaumont, Redlands, and Palm Springs.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. President Trump sojourned to Walter Reed Medical Center to comfort First Lady Melania Trump after she had what the White House calls an embolization procedure for what it called a benign kidney condition. ABC News chief medical correspondent Dr. Jennifer Ashton says such procedures are typically done when